Everyone, and welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, and my co-host today, Tim Lofton. Welcome back, Tim.
Hey, how are you doing, Paul?
I am good. How you been?
Doing great. I mean, it's football season. You know, holidays are upon us, so it's good stuff.
Yeah, we're going to change some lives today, right?
We are indeed. I think we've got a pretty exciting list of things to talk about.
We got a heck of a topic, and I'm interested in hearing what you got to say, because our topic for today's show is where Google leads people astray.
That's correct.
And right out of the gate, you know, a lot of folks are thinking, I will not need as much money in retirement as I did when I was working. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that?
Well, it comes up a lot, Paul. You know, we'll meet with people and they'll say, well, you know, I'm making, you know, $100,000 a year working, and, you know, I know in retirement I won't need near that much. And, you know, our question is always the same. Well, what part of your life are you not going to be spending money on when you're not working? Because our experience is, and I'm sure that our listeners at home will understand this, you have more free time, which means you have more time to actually spend money. And so, you know, a lot of times that Google search, what people are seeing in a study is typically that people had a mortgage payment, and they got the mortgage paid off, and so now they don't have that payment, and so they need less money that way.
Sure.
Okay, and that's legitimate, right? But for most of our clients coming in, they've already paid off their house.
Right.
So whatever they're spending now, they'll most likely continue to spend in retirement. Another thing that will come up sometimes, Paul, is we'll see that people think that their spending is going to go down. And two problems there. One, they haven't necessarily factored in inflation. And number two, people are living longer, so they're not spending less. And so that's one of those things where if people just put that into Google, they could get some very bad information, make some very bad decisions that could negatively impact their retirement years to come.
Right, because again, that's a kind of a cookie cutter approach.
Right.
And Google's giving them a generalization, right?
Correct.
And so getting that personal advice, having someone advise them personally is the important thing.
Right.
Correct?
They need a plan.
Okay, so what do you say was something to the point where if something happens to me, my spouse will need less, because again, we won't need twice the income we had.
Right.
We should only need the one income. What do you say to folks that challenge that notion?
And that happens a lot, and it's usually us guys. We're the ones that think, you know, once we're gone, that somehow magically bills don't need to be paid anymore. And so that one's a tough one, because in theory you would think, well, two of us spend X amount of dollars, one of us would spend a lot less. What we found, though, is that's not the case. Maybe you have two cars and you get rid of a car. Other than that, you know, one of the things that we find really interesting is, and when the husband passes away, this is what usually happens. Wife's still shopping for two. She'll shop for two for a year, because she's been doing that for, you know, 40, 50 years, right? And so recalibrating how much groceries to buy and things that you normally spend money on don't just automatically change. And that's really the biggest difference, is maybe food and eating out, things of that nature. Everything else, for the most part, if you think about, you know, your water bill and your heating bill and all of those types of things don't really change whether it's one person or two persons.
That's a good point.
So that's another one of those areas where if you don't do, one of the things that we have in our retirement blueprint is that spousal continuity income plan.
Okay.
And that is a very key component to figuring out retirement for both parties. That way they can see in black and white, if something happens to one of you, here's what your income's going to do. But your spend rate's still going to be here. And so it gives them kind of a illustration up on that big screen in our conference room of exactly what it would look like in their scenario. And that's one of the things that we hear time and time again from people that come into the office that was really helpful to them, to be able to visualize that.
Okay. I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk to you about trust, because there's a lot of information out there, again, about a trust versus a will.
Right.
A lot of folks believe that trusts are mainly for people that are rich.
Right.
I mean, that's not necessarily the case, is it, Tim?
No, it's not, Paul. And we hear that all the time. I've had more people sitting in our office, and as you know, one of our retirement blueprint cornerstones is estate planning.
Okay.
We have an estate planning attorney that does all the work for our clients, and we'll hear that they met with an attorney, and even an attorney told them that they didn't need a trust. And we'll be like, what kind of attorney were they? And they're typically a general practice attorney or a friend of theirs, and they'll make a kind of a comment off the cuff. If you don't have a lot of money, you really don't need one. But that's, the reason for a trust has nothing to do with your net worth.
Okay.
It has to do with making sure that you have your estate plan buttoned up, right? That trust is the thing that's going to decide and give what you want to who you want, the way you want, when you want, with the least amount of fees possible. That's the reason for a trust. Bypassing probate, not letting everybody that you know be able to get on the internet and look at exactly what you had after you pass away, because they put that on the county website.
Really?
Those are the types of things that I don't think people understand, and that doesn't have anything to do with rich. But just as a side note, just so we're defining who the rich people are,
right?
Because we know that number.
Sure.
The IRS defines it. It's the top 50% of wage earners. So for you at home, if you make $67,500, the IRS classifies you as a rich person. If you didn't know that, congratulations. I'm sure you're excited at home to learn that you are indeed one of the rich Americans that they're always talking about when they want to raise taxes.
Yeah, oh boy, that's talking about newsflash,
right?
Big one there for sure. Okay, how about the notion that folks believe once they get to retirement, they no longer have the need, say, for life insurance?
That's another one. Partly right, partly wrong. It really depends on the scenario. And so what that Google search is typically telling you is that you don't necessarily need life insurance to replace your income, because a lot of times once we get to retirement, by the time you're able to retire with pension and Social Security and your savings, you would consider yourself almost self-insured. In other words, you no longer need to recreate that income because that income's already kind of guaranteed. Does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely does.
So that part of it, that is true. You probably don't need life insurance for that. And even with that, there's situations where you might. We had a client just recently where they were second marriages. The pension, which is a big source of their income for him, there is no beneficial interest to her. So if he passes away, there would be an income gap in that particular instance. And so life insurance was appropriate in that particular case. But for the most part, that's not what we use life insurance for. But however, if you look at life insurance in retirement, what are some of the things that people find it useful for? Planning for long-term care, right? Because I can get a life insurance policy today and leverage that death benefit while I'm living for long-term care. So in other words, I could have a $500,000 death benefit as a life insurance policy if I can't do 2 of those 6 activities of daily living that would qualify me in that policy to take money out for a nursing home, for example.
Okay.
I could take out, in that case, $100,000 a year for 5 years, tax-free.
Really?
And utilize that for nursing home. So that might be an instance where that makes sense.
Yeah.
Another area for life insurance is defined giving. We've had clients that say, you know what, we're going to spend everything we have, but we do want to leave something to the kids, and they'll get a life insurance policy that they own. When the second person passes away, the kids will inherit X amount of dollars. And they pick the number, right? I mean, 500,000, a million, whatever you're looking to leave behind. Move that into an irrevocable trust. It's outside of the estate. It's protected, passes tax-free to your beneficiaries, and you could indeed spend every dollar and still pass on something to the kids. And then lastly, the third place that we see life insurance used quite a bit is for basically a tax-free savings plan, a glorified Roth IRA, if you will.
Sure.
So they're overfunding, utilizing that IRS ability to give you tax-free growth, tax-free income in retirement.
That's huge.
So that's an area where Google's right. You may not need life insurance in the traditional sense, but there's other areas where it may be very helpful.
So you're basically saying, in summary, life insurances today are very different tools than they were yesteryear, right?
Or a different tool than they are for somebody in their 30s and 40s, okay? Because in the 30s and 40s, I'm still using it for income replacement, right?
Exactly.
But once I get to retirement, it's different.
Totally different.
And I still have to qualify. Right? I mean, that's the other issue.
Right. Well, listen, I understand today you have a special offer for the viewers. Would you share that with the viewers today?
Sure. So for everyone today that gives us a call, you're going to get to sit down with us. We're going to give you a retirement blueprint for you and your family to be able to basically see exactly what your retirement might look like. We're going to do this at no cost. We would love to have the opportunity to meet you. We would love to have the opportunity to share with you the same retirement blueprint that we've done for hundreds and hundreds of other people here in town. So consider that. Give us a call.
Okay. Again, that's a complimentary review. I've seen folks charge upwards of $1,500 for these consultations. Tim and his team is willing to invest the time and energy into you. All you have to do is invest the phone call that could change everything. 855-684-3485. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, my co-host, Tim Lofton. Tim, I got to say, incredible information. I love how you're diving deeper on these questions that are going into Google, but Google's giving you a plain, generic, kind of a vanilla answer to something that you're saying there's multiple different levels and different facets. And the only way someone's going to know that is if they take the time out to get to know you personally, right?
That's exactly right, Paul. I mean, the problem is that it's misleading.
Yes.
Articles, there's lots of articles that are put out there to get your attention, that they want to get your attention because they have a reason for getting your attention, right? I mean, they're looking at capturing that time in front of the screen. They're looking at, potentially you as a prospect that they could potentially sell something to. I mean, we understand how marketing and advertising works, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's not new.
No.
So you just have to be careful. The warning of Google, and I tell my kids this all the time, just because Google says it doesn't mean it's true.
It's so true. I say it to my children as well. That's a good point. I love that you shared that with folks. Listen, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Medicare. So to what extent does Medicare help someone with hospitalization, Tim?
Well, Medicare is, probably the most amazing thing we have in this country. I tell people every day, if you have your Medicare and a supplement, you're taken care of. A lot of times people are concerned that they're going to get this massive health problem, a heart attack or, cancer or something, and they're going to be wiped out. And that's just simply not the case with today's insurance. We just have great coverage out there. Okay. The misconception a lot of times is again, in that Google search, will Medicare cover my long-term care stay or my nursing home stay? And it says, yes, it will. And so people walk away with, yes, it will, without understanding the parameters behind that. Wow. And the technical answer is, yes, it will, up to 100 days. 30 years, I've never met anyone who's gotten 100 days paid for by Medicare and been in a nursing home. It just simply doesn't happen. Really? Understand that when Medicare is paying for a nursing home stay, it's paying for rehabilitation, not for I've got to go into a nursing home. It's a short-term stay. It's defined by you either get better and they send you home, or you're not getting better and they send you home.
Wow.
Right? I mean, that's what Medicare is paying for. And so, a week or two, a month maybe, 2 months, that would be kind of on the outside of things. 100 days, it's not going to happen. No. It's just not. So that is a big mistake to make, right? If I'm going along through retirement thinking that, essentially if I have to go into long-term care, that this is going to be covered by the government, just to find out that no, what they're going to do is spend down all of your assets.
Yes.
They're going to keep your Social Security. They're going to keep your pension. They're going to spend down your assets to a couple $1,000s, and that's what you're going to have left. Then Medicaid takes over, and a lot of times people misunderstand Medicare, Medicaid. They sound very similar. They're two completely different programs.
Right, and it's interesting you're saying that. You're talking about trusting your long-term care to either the government, an employer, or yourself. Who can you count on? You're saying it's a good idea to make sure you have a plan for yourself. Right? That's what we're getting to here, right?
Everything we've talked about today, Paul, this whole show segment is about the retirement blueprint. It's about having that plan, of having an income plan, of having an investment plan, of having a plan for long-term care and health care, making sure that we're getting that Social Security maximization, picking the right time to pick it and when, and what do we do with the spouse? Do we go ahead and pick it early, or do we let them wait? Do we claim half of their other spouse? There's so many different facets to planning that have to be figured out. You can't do these things one piece at a time or just get in the weeds and fix one problem. You have a global choice to make here with putting together a retirement plan that's going to work, that's going to cover you and your family all the way to the end.
I love that. That's good stuff. I was reading someplace the other day that, annuities get a lot of publicity. You're seeing it in the news, you see it on commercials, bad versus good. What is the real truth to it, Tim?
Well, I think annuities are probably, when you do put that in Google, you can probably find, of all the different investment options out there, you can probably find more negative articles about annuities than anything else. And I'll tell you why. It's the most widely held investment. About $400 billion a year, Paul, are going into annuities.
Wow.
So they must work.
Yeah, somebody's doing them.
Somebody's doing them.
That's a lot of money,
right? Yeah. So where does it go astray? Where is Google right?
Yeah, okay.
Google is right in that sometimes the wrong people own an annuity. Google's right in sometimes people own an annuity that's just not good. I mean, there's plenty of annuities out there that are bad, like there's plenty of mutual funds that are bad, like there's plenty of cars that are bad, like there's plenty of doctors that are bad. I mean, there's bad of everything, right? And I think that you see, because of the volume and the amount of people that own annuities, they are a very popular topic because that is an audience that the financial services industry wants to target.
Gotcha.
I mean, here's the deal.
They want you to move your money there.
They want you to move their money there. So if I, as a company, say annuities are bad, click here to find out why.
Yeah, exactly.
The next thing it's going to say is download our free article I've got to put in my phone number, my email address, and my name, and then guess what's going to happen, Paul?
They're going to bombard you.
They're going to bombard you.
Yep.
And the only reason it's clickbait is what they call
You're
it.
absolutely
Basically, I'm clicking on that information because I own an annuity, and I want to know why they're bad and why whoever it is that recommended it to me, oh my gosh, I must be in trouble, right?
Right. So much for being unbiased.
Exactly. Susie Orman's been doing this for decades, selling books by basically picking topics that people own and then saying, hey, this is bad, buy my book and find out why.
You know, we're going to come back and talk more about this topic on annuities, good versus bad. We got to take a quick break here. Tim, will you remind the good folks out there why they should be calling in today and setting an appointment with you?
Folks at home, listen. Retirement is unbelievably important. You need a plan. You have to have a plan. Pick up the phone. Give us a quick call. Sit down with us. You have nothing to lose. Find out if there's something that we can do to make your retirement better. Call today.
That's good stuff. You know, the question is, why do you have a blueprint? When you build a home, why do you have that blueprint? It's to have something sound, something strong, to make sure it stands the test of time. It's the same reason you have a blueprint in your financial plan, because you need a plan that will stand the test of time. How long do you plan on being retired? Ask yourself that question. Give Tim and his team a call, 855-684-3485. Again, it's a completely complimentary review. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Hi, I'm Tim Lofton, and for 27 years, we've been helping people just like you navigate to and through retirement with our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Many of our clients are extremely concerned today with the increasing federal debt and the potential for a significant increase in taxes. If you share these or other retirement concerns, give us a call today for a no-obligation complimentary consultation. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I've been your host, Paul Gebhard. It's an honor to be with you today. My co-host, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, thank you so much for all this incredible information and clearing up a lot of questions around annuities. I wanted to ask you, what are the different types to annuities?
That's a great question, and I think this is probably one of the most confusing areas because you'll find that, like, I'll hear somebody say, for example, we'll mention an annuity, and somebody will say, "Oh my gosh, I heard those are really expensive." Well, they are if you're talking about a variable annuity. If you're talking about a fixed annuity or an index annuity, those aren't expensive at all. In some cases, there's no cost to them. So it really depends on what kind of annuity somebody is looking at. And so the variable annuity probably gets the worst rap just because of the cost to it. Anywhere from 2 to 4% plus internal operating expenses a lot of times, but you're getting a lot of bells and whistles. The key is are those bells and whistles as valuable to you as the fee you're paying for them? I mean, that's the question that you have to answer. It's not really for me to say that they're good or bad. They're good if you find the value in them is worth the fee that you're paying for it. We're a big fan of index annuities, as you know, because of just the age of client that we work with. They definitely fit the bill for what a lot of times we're looking for. For example, tax deferral. If a client has a lot of money that is invested, that's growing, that's taxable, it's spitting off dividends, it's spitting off capital gains, spitting off interest, that's all taxable to them. And if that's money that they're not using on an annual basis for spending, they're basically paying taxes on money that they really don't need to pay taxes on. And so a lot of times our tax expert will get in there and say, hey, here's an area of your portfolio that you could save quite a bit of taxes and grow that money more efficiently. And so tax deferral is a big item. Another area is just indexing in general. I know we've talked about this on other shows, but it's an area where, someone could be invested in the upside of the market without downside risk. And what I mean by that is basically putting a floor. It says if the market goes below zero, your worst case scenario return-wise is a 0% return, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But still you have upside of the index. So pretty powerful. It's a great bond alternative because if you look at the return that we're typically looking for, 4 to 6%. That's more bond-like. It also is non-correlated in that it has that floor, so it offers that protection a lot of times that people are looking for on the bond side. So there's a lot of features. Another area that a lot of times is overlooked is on the annuity side. Sometimes it may have a leveraged benefit for the nursing home. So for someone who maybe doesn't qualify for the life insurance idea or for a long-term care policy, this may be an area that they could get in, not have to be medically approved, still have an additional funding vehicle for a long-term care stay in the event that that were to happen. So there's a lot of very powerful things. I mean, there's a reason why $400 billion a year is going into that industry,
Yeah,
right?
exactly right.
And so to do a Google search that says they're bad, people are really selling themselves short. They need to understand that context. The people that write the articles that are bad are simply trying to get them to do business with them.
Yeah.
It's a marketing ploy.
I totally agree with you. And again, I think it's like anything. When anybody tells you something's bad or something's good, truth is probably in the middle. The reality is how it's applied, how it's used, to your point. Right,
Is it
Tim?
good? Is it good for the person who has it?
That's exactly right.
I don't doubt that there are, possibly an insurance agent that sold somebody, an annuity that they shouldn't have, or that somebody ended up with a product that they shouldn't have ended up with, or that a product was genuinely just not very well made.
Right.
That's all true. But if you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing, those outcomes are not something that should ever happen.
I love that. Believe it or not, my friend, we're coming down to the end of the show today.
Well,
is there one more thing you'd really like to share with folks before we go?
I don't think so, Paul. I think we got through my list.
We covered all of it.
That was a lot of Google stuff.
We sure did. You covered annuities, good, bad, and the ugly, which I love. And to your point, I want to come back to that. 400 billion people are doing it, or $400 billion worth
$400 billion
in it, right?
Per year.
It's obviously working in some cases.
It's working for somebody. And don't forget, annuities, a pension is an annuity, right?
Absolutely
so
right.
it's
security.
It's security.
Yeah, absolutely right.
The key is it the right thing for you? Call us and find out.
Yeah, again, get your complimentary review with Tim and his team. There's only so many spots available, but you got to call now. You have to take action. That's the key. It's what you do today. Tim's willing to invest time and resources in you. You need to invest a phone call that could change everything. That helps you sleep better at night, which is a great thing. To have a retirement you'll love. 855-684-3485. Thank you for being with us. Be well and enjoy your retirement, everybody.